I'm a bad motherfucker.
Footage on a live stream tonight at 9 o'clock. So there's more there, but I wanted to give a sort of Twitter type video there for that, because that was the crux of her rebuke to my prediction that she's going to lose. She's going to come in a distant third. She's polling in the single digits, and she's basically giving the defense that a lot of these liberals like to bash Trump for. Whenever he gets an unfavorable poll, he says it's a fake poll. It's fake news, fake poll, the polls are rigged. That's what she's saying there. She's saying that, no, actually, the dozens of polls that have me in single digits are wrong because New Hampshire voters hold things close to the vest or chest, as she said. So yeah, she's just giving a transparently nonsensical answer. Now, in fairness, I will say that, like, she's running for office. It's 2 days before the vote. I didn't expect her to say, yeah, you know what, you're right. On second thought, this has all been a giant waste of time. Everybody go home and don't vote for me on Tuesday. Like, I didn't expect for her to say that. I predicted that she would spin it somehow. But the fake polls defense was so weak that I got the sense that the room was very receptive to what I said. There were well over 100 people in that room. She had actually a pretty big crowd for the size of the venue that it was. And you noticed some applause, but not much when she gave me that, New York thing.
The business.
Yeah, exactly. So I sensed I had the room on my side for the most part, because I saw a lot of people nodding along and really seemed to appreciate what I was saying. And look, the proof is going to hit them tomorrow. We're going to find out in less than 48 hours who was telling the truth in that room and who was selling people a line of shit in that room. This has been our main critique of the Marianne campaign from day one, is that it is a waste of time, and more importantly, a waste of resources of working people to get involved in these dead-end Democratic primary campaigns. In a sense, this was really a bookend to our friend Nick Cruz when he interviewed her early on in the campaign. He said working people spent $100 million trying to get Bernie Sanders the Democratic nomination. And what do we get for it? Nothing. Not only did he lose a nomination, he sold out whatever movement he had. And so we cannot afford to do this a third time. We're not going to do it a third time. This was what we had to say about the Marianne campaign from day one. And so I thought, with 2 days to go before the vote, this would be a nice way to bookend this. Okay, you did that interview with RBN a year ago where they told you this was their concern. You blew them off. Here we are a year later. Where are you? You're at 5, 6, 7% if you're lucky, which is where she's going to finish. She's not going to shock the world, just like Ramaswamy was not going to shock the world. We said Vivek was going to lose big in Iowa and probably drop out, and a lot of his supporters came at us. The polls are fake, but what happened? Same thing's going to happen tomorrow with the Marianne campaign.
Maybe you should read her book, A Course in Miracles.
Yeah. Hey,
maybe she should read her book.
Hey, Marianne, I've got one more miracle to add to your list. Do you make it get past the primaries?
I thought primaries were mythical stuff. What is she doing?
Well, here's what Nick says from RBN. He says she does realize she's running for president, right? Her pointing out you from New York to deflect was such a scumbag move. Marianne had no answer to your devastating criticism of her strategy. And by the way, if not being from New Hampshire means you shouldn't weigh in on the New Hampshire primary, why the hell does the New Hampshire primary count so much for the entire nation?
Right.
Right. So
yeah, last I heard, she's not running for president of New Hampshire.
That's right.
But also, like, the main reason I made that point, I mean, that was the point I wanted to make going in, but it just happened to be that she started out that event by highlighting some mutual aid activists. Apparently, the owner of that restaurant cooked meals for kids during the COVID lockdowns and gave them out for free. So, and she talked about that. So I'm like, okay, so rather than invest our hopes in pretending that you're going to have some progressive breakthrough inside this just transparently corrupt party, why not harness this energy? Why not use whatever power is in this room to help each other as the country goes to hell, because the country is going to hell, and it's going to hell mostly because the voters want it to. You know, she says, well, 70% of Democrats wanted somebody else to run. Well, 90% of Democrats say they want Medicare for all, but only 30% vote for it. The Democrats do what they're told. What Democratic voters say they want is fucking irrelevant. And so, you know, this is a lesson that we've been trying to impart to people as best we can over the course of our show, pretty much. And it's a lesson that these Democratic voters just refuse to learn. And she gets into some of that stuff later on in that answer, but her final rebuke was that, well, we can't give up. You're telling me to give up. And I'm not telling you to give up. I'm telling you to give up on the Democratic Party. That's the difference. But these lifelong PMC Democrat types just can't make that break. They see surrendering the Democratic Party as a total surrender of activism, which it's not. Actually, the most nihilistic thing you can do is continue to run inside and therefore legitimize this just absolutely just rotten to the core organization that doesn't even deserve to call itself a political party. It's really not a legitimate party.
I mean, Joe Biden, I mean, they're currently, she knows that, see, that's the whole thing. It's a game, right? But the people in that room, I wish more of them realized that it was the game that it is, because Marianne Williamson, Marianne Williamson knows it's a game. She knows she's never going to get the nominee. She knows that they'll never let her. They wouldn't let Bernie Sanders, who was wildly more popular than she was, get the nomination. They're going to cheat, steal, and right out in public, they're doing it, right? They're rigging the primary as we're talking. Joe Biden won't debate anybody. They won't, they're not doing any. So what you want to say?
That's exactly right. And I thought the people in that room were reachable, which is why I ate a little shit. I didn't want to have it get hostile and get thrown out, because I sensed that they were on my side. And when the crowd's on your side, you don't want to squander it by, you know, having the whole thing go to hell. So I let her give her answer. I trusted that people would see through it. If they didn't see through that answer, they're going to see through it in just over 24 hours when she comes in at 5-6%.
Marianne, I'm not saying you should quit. I'm just saying a pie has a better chance in a fight with Chris Christie than you getting anywhere in this race.
So your point is that it's time to give up on the Democratic Party, which was the point of this show in 2016, and that Marianne Williamson and those people need to come to face facts. Donald Trump's going to be president, most likely, and so what do you do from there? And they don't. First, she doesn't have a plan to do anything from there. She doesn't, and she's never going to give up on the Democratic Party, because so after she loses, she could take her place in the pantheon of progressives who ran for fun and book deals. That's what this actually is. And her own staff said she was running for a book deal. And you know, when she came on the show, she was just as uninformed as she was the first time she ran. And she's not really that interested in things, but she has a lot of good slogans, like "We don't have a healthcare system, we have a sick care system." Yeah, she says shit like that.
You should make a calendar of her saying.
Yeah, but
I mean, it was like a 2016 rally talking about the legacy of FDR and how the Democrats have abandoned their roots and blah blah blah.
Yeah, we've known this for a decade.
We've known this exactly. We've known this.
She's
and
like,
you know, the reasons why your following is as loyal as they are is because you were really first on this. You beat me to it. I mean, I didn't vote for Biden in 2020, but you know, I held out hope for the Democrats longer than I should have, and that is something that I look back on with regret. But at this point, I mean, if you're still giving a stump speech talking about how the Democrats need to return to FDR, that's like telling McDonald's they should give up the pink slime and go back to real meat. Like, McDonald's got rich off the pink slime. They're not going to go back to making real hamburgers. They switched to pink slime for a reason, because it was profitable, made them money. Democrats are the same way. They're not turning back. There's a reason they switched business models in the first place.
She's like an antidepressant for the disaffected Democrats. I mean, you know what I mean? Not, or the ones who are still going to vote Democrat. Put it that way. Are you walking around in a state of dull fog and confusion? Ask your doctor if Marianne X is right for you.
Hey, you guys say Dem exit, but Joe Biden says Dementor.
It says a lot. I've noticed this lately with libs, and whenever I see them all with the same talking points at the same time. It tells me it must have appeared in an op-ed in the Boston Globe that everybody copied afterwards. They all keep referencing FDR. All right, well, what does that say about your shit party that you have to go that far back to find some
Right.
justification for the existence of the Democrats?
Right.
You have to go back to FDR, not Kennedy, not Carter,
What
not
about
Clinton. You have to go back to FDR to say something good about the Democrats.
what do you mean? Go back to Jimmy Carter and deregulating the trucking industry. Wasn't that fantastic?
Well, that's why they can't invoke him.
Right.
I mean, they don't invoke him because he's been so maligned for other reasons. But yeah, you have to go back to FDR to find a Democratic president. And really, no, I was arguing with a lib at that theater party that I was at, and that's what he did. He went back to FDR. I said, "Are you fucking kidding me? Are you kidding me? FDR? You're talking about it? What about Bill Clinton? What about Bill Clinton, who handed the country's manufacturing off to overseas? That is how you got Donald Trump. That was the beginning of the end. Well, Reagan, yes, and Clinton did things Reagan couldn't have done in his wildest dreams. He followed Reagan's lead.
He couldn't do things that George Bush the first couldn't do, which was NAFTA. Bill Clinton got that done. He then deregulated the media, took us from 50 giant media companies down to 6.
Right.
He then gutted welfare at the same time he exploded the prison population.
Right.
And then he deregulated Wall Street, which crashed the economy within 10 years. And who did it hurt the most? Black and brown people, poor people. And he wanted to privatize Social Security, but Monica Lewinsky's blowjob saved us from that. That's a fact.
Yes.
Right.
So, I mean, he was Ronald Reagan, and so was,
on steroids.
And guess who else said he was Ronald Reagan? Barack Obama. He said if this was the 1980s, my policies would be considered center-right policies because he was Ronald Reagan again. And he was a guy who looked good, who was screwing the workers and screwing up everybody. And by the way, exploding drilling and anyway, the whole thing. And his healthcare plan was nothing but a giveaway to the health insurance companies and big pharma. And Barack Obama then repealed habeas corpus, and he made it okay for the CIA and the FBI to do propaganda on Americans, which we're going to talk about in a segment coming up in just a second, because they've been doing it nonstop. Nonstop. What do you think? There's been so many things that have been our own government doing propaganda on us since they. Why do you think they repealed that law? For kicks? Because they weren't going to do it?
No, to give baseball to Cuba. It was they were broadcasting propaganda, and Cuba loves baseball, and we're like, it's technically illegal. Can we make it legal so Cuba can hear baseball? And that's why they did it. And you guys are making conspiracies about it.
It is just amazing as we start to go into the election cycle in earnest to watch Democrats start to close ranks around this mummy. They went after Maureen Dowd.
Oh, yeah.
Is anyone more of a committed Pelosi-style shitlib than Maureen Dowd? And she pointed out the obvious. We're looking at a race between two octogenarian narcissists. How can you compare Joe Biden to Donald Trump?
I know that because you can't, because Biden's been a lot worse for this country. Neither of them have been great. Don't get me wrong.
It's on
There's no winners. There's no winners in a Donald Trump presidency or a Joe Biden presidency, except military-industrial complex, big oil, big pharma, Wall Street, and the like.
Well, that's why it's good to have a mummy as the president, I would think. But they always go, oh, but he's too old, and that like being polite to not say obviously demented. Somehow, every time it gets brought up, they're like, yeah, but lots of people are old.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're old. My grandfather's brain worked till he died at 96. You didn't sound. And by the way, when Biden's brain did work, it wasn't that great.
Wasn't that great either? Even then.
Yeah, no, it was not a great.
He was a plagiarist.
His nickname was Uncle Joe.
Okay.
That's a nickname of a guy that's brain doesn't work great.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey,
that's old Uncle Joe for you.
Real quick, do you think if Trump gets elected again, do you think it was a fluke that he didn't start a war in his first term, and that he definitely will get on board with the military-industrial complex in his second term, or or do you think that he exactly is a non-interventionist? I'm not sure about that. What do you think?
Bob Woodward wrote a book about the administration. And look, Bob Woodward's a lib, but he's also an old school journalist. So I actually trust that his reporting is accurate. He's one of the last of the Mohicans. He believes that you have to report facts, right? He may be a lib, but he still adheres to that standard. And that is an episode that was in his book. I can't remember what the name of it was. It was about like the first couple of years of the Trump administration. He described something that I thought was very revealing about Trump for the first time having to call military families who had lost their children. And he describes him being really disturbed by having to do that. And that makes a lot of sense to me. The kind of evil that you will have inured yourself to if you came up through politics is a level of evil that being a New York real estate tycoon scumbag just does not prepare you for. He was not prepared for that side of the job of being this mass murderer in chief. You know, fucking a contractor is one thing, killing people's kids and then calling them to say sorry about that. That's a whole other thing. I think that is honestly a big part of why Donald Trump did not start any wars. I think he doesn't really want to be put in that position. I think it disturbs him in a way that somebody who started out in politics wouldn't be.
So he doesn't have the stomach for it.
Yeah, I mean, based on that story, it sounds that way.
Okay. All right. Let's go over to Steph.
Okay, so a friend of the show sent this in, said that Bob Woodward also was a Navy intel person. He, after graduating from Yale University, Woodward joined the U.S. Navy, where he served as communications officer for intelligence. But my secret agent said Bob Woodward is also a former Navy intelligence, as Russ Baker has reported. Info. Interesting. Thank you so much. All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
Oh, back to Jim Jam.
So Keaton also visited Nikki Haley's campaign event, and this has actually saved this because this is the headliner. Nikki Haley's going to pretend she's going to get a heckler, not Keaton, and then she's going to do that bullshit where she says, "Oh, isn't it great? We have a great country. I actually appreciative," and then she's going to pay for it. Here we go. Watch this.
You are a climate criminal. Trump is a climate criminal. You are all aiding and abetting the destruction of our future.
All right, so that guy is attacking her on the climate change front, saying they're all climate criminals, and the cops are taking him out, right? So he's being disruptive, and the cops are taking him out. Now watch how she responds to this.
You know what what we all need to remember is I'm grateful for protesters like that, because that's what my husband and military men and women sacrifice for us every day to be able to have.
Okay, here it comes. That's the setup, and here comes the punchline.
Power of our voice.
All right, well, good. Here's one more then. Here's one more.
Okay, good. Here's one more then. I'll be a disruptive protester. And that's you doing that, right, Keaton?
That's me, yeah.
Okay, and here he goes.
You're happy.
No, we're not going to do that. So first,
That's great.
Okay, we're not going to do that.
The staggering is a great idea.
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
Yeah.
participation trophy, all-time best of these.
Hilarious.
All of the things I've ever seen of disruption at a thing. But the
We loved
staggering's
it.
a great idea, man. That's like have a cascade of, as they say, they think it's over and then you just get it going again.
Yeah. She
Well,
actually.
who's Keaton? Whose event was it recently where they just kept bombarding them?
That was a Richie Torres event where the
Was
Indie
that
News Network
Torres?
guys
Yeah,
kept,
where he just
kept
couldn't get
disrupting.
through it. That was great.
So should I play the rest of that? You don't really say anything. They just kick you out immediately, right?
Well, he says
Yeah.
a couple things.
Here, I'll
say
play
a
it.
couple
I'll play
things
it.
about your retirement age.
You just said you're grateful for protesters.
okay,
let her talk.
Get out of here.
Seniors should work till they're 80, right?
Let's go. You're out.
You want to raise the retirement age so seniors can work so the Nazis in Ukraine could get the money. And the mass murdering Nazis in Israel could get the money.
I mean, she said
Okay, so that was actually very well said. She said what? Because she recently said that we need to raise the retirement age. You go, people should work till they're 80.
Yeah.
And that's so we could send that money to Ukraine, right? We could send it to Nazis in Ukraine. And that was very good. That was very, very well done.
That was what I was planning on saying, because Trump has been hitting her on Social Security. And she says that she doesn't want to cut Social Security, but she obviously does want to raise the retirement age, which will have the effect of cutting Social Security. And I bet she wants to cut it on top of that. most Republicans do. But she talked a lot in her previous day's speech about the American dream, about seniors and stuff like that. Meanwhile, she does want to raise the retirement age and spend a lot of money in these wars. And on top of that, she said before that Trump and Biden were unfit because they're too old. Well, you want to raise the retirement age, so you want people working until they're 80. So why are they too old? Isn't that par for the course? So that was what I was gonna say. But then when that kid went ahead of me, I was like, as soon as she said I'm grateful for protesters, I'm like, oh, okay, well, now I have a great answer. Because now I'll add a little irony to it. Now it'll be fun.
I loved how she goes, no, we're not doing that. And you go, you said you were grateful.
You just said you were grateful. I'm just trying to make your day here.
Your husband's overseas fighting for this. While you're out catting around, I hear.
Yeah,
well, she said at the end of that, she said at the end of that, on my way out, I heard her say something like, in Russia, you couldn't do that. Well, apparently I can't do it here either, because the cops are dragging me out.
What in the hell?
Let me see. Let me play the rest of this.
Watch yourself, Keith.
You wouldn't live much longer. We wouldn't allow that to have happened. God bless America.
Yeah, if I were in Russia, I wouldn't live much longer. Yeah.
Oh, is that what she said?
Yeah.
Oh, so at least they're going to let you live
At
here.
least they let me live.
You should be
It's
more
funny, the
grateful.
cop pointed me through these double doors, and I was like, what's through these double doors? This is a Haley event. Is this like some makeshift Guantanamo torture chamber through these doors, or is this an exit?
Is
And I
there
went
a
through, and
box
it was
of
an exit.
Ensure and tubing in there?
Yeah, right. Exactly. A gimp and a box of Ensure. No, thankfully it was just the exit. Just the exit, and I was on my way.
So they're really hoping that Democrats vote for Nick, because the New Hampshire is one of those states where you can vote for whoever you want. It's not just Republicans voting in a Republican primary and only Democrats voting in a. You can cross over and vote for. So they're trying to get Democrats, because Joe Biden's not on the ballot in New Hampshire, correct?
No, he's not, but the super PACs are funding a write-in campaign for Biden. And the write-in campaign is winning. This is what I mean. The Democratic voters are just fucking brain dead. Like, the guy's not even participating. He's got his super PACs telling you to write him in, and they're writing him in. But a lot of Democrats are going to these Haley events. We're going to show the footage later on our show that I interviewed some people outside. There were a lot of independents, a lot of Democrats going to this rally. And so she will get some independents and some Democrats. That's probably why she's polling as high as she is, which I got to say, New Hampshire has this reputation. You know, they call themselves the live free or die state. They have this very libertarian maverick reputation. They seem like just a bunch of centrist, warmongering, normie douchebags to me. I mean, they seem pretty normie. I don't think that reputation of theirs is well earned.
Why isn't Joe Biden on?
You don't have any gigs coming up in New Hampshire, do you?
No, but why
I was
is
just gonna say there goes New Hampshire for Jimmy's show and our show.
Why isn't Joe Biden on the ballot in New Hampshire?
Because New Hampshire is insisting that they go first on the primary calendar, and Biden wanted to help rig the primary by putting South Carolina first. So the DNC moved South Carolina first, but the state of New Hampshire insists that according to their state law, they have to go first. And so the DNC is not counting any of the delegates from New Hampshire. So it's just a bragging rights scrimmage that Biden is not even participating in, because he's saying we want South Carolina to go first.
So that's just
and
another.
He's still winning. He's still winning as a write-in.
And that's just another way that the DNC and rig a primary.
Right.
They're going to move up the most favorable state for Joe Biden to be first. They're going to ignore the ones that aren't favorable to. I mean, it's just one rigging.
And he wins the state. Think about this. He's disenfranchising the state. He's disenfranchising the voters of the state, and they're going to write him in anyway.
but to save democracy, Keaton.
This is for
Right, yeah.
We gotta show those MAGA Republicans that we're behind Joe.
Yeah.
You'll understand when I say that I'm actually pessimistic on the future of America.
Yes.
I'm pretty
Me too.
pessimistic
Well,
on the
that's what I
president of
tried to
America,
communicate to
as well
Marianne.
as the past.
Yeah, I'm pessimistic on the present and the past also.
You know, honestly, traveling around the country as much as I have been post-COVID, it's it's the same everywhere. You're not going to find any place in a collapsing country that isn't collapsing. So every place you go is a place that's experiencing its demise in its own peculiar way. So you come to New Orleans. I accidentally wound up at a memorial to a recently deceased local blues musician, and everybody there was old. It was a pretty small crowd trying to carry on the old traditions, but you could see that was all dying. Going to your neck of the woods, LA, I was talking to you about that. You know, it's not like it was when I first got there. You know, like it or don't like it, there was an exuberant spirit of celebration there. Doesn't feel like that anymore. New York, I bitch about it all the time. People say, if you move out of New York, what, you miss it? I say, I miss it now. What would the difference be? So you see that everywhere. You're not going to go anywhere in America that is not being affected by this decline and this collapse.
It's on that note, make sure you vote blue.
You know how you can measure it? The Pornhub relative porn search map of America. New Hampshire, #1 relative porn search on Pornhub is pierced. So, yeah, that's how pierced. That's how normie that's like a hot topic was a state level of boring of a porn search.
Okay, over to Steph for some super chats.
Okay, thank you, Jimmy. Unvaccinated guy, how's it going, dear? Somewhere out in the soy, blank is giving head for beer money. Fill in the blanks, kids. Fill in the blanks. All right, unvaccinated guy, you're back.
Out in the soy, like in the
Somewhere in the
like where
soy.
they grow soy, like in Brazil.
That's what I was wondering. Somewhere in the soy. I didn't quite get
You
it.
can't make these half poetry and then a joke. I mean, like, look,
I think you can make them half poetry. It's just like I
you
just
get
don't
to reflect
understand
on
it.
the roof.
You know, then the next one, unvaccinated guy, I'm just going to say the word nibbled, okay? And we're going to move on. Thank you for that one. Unvaccinated guy, this one has litigation and Captain Spaulding. Thank you so much for that one, unvaccinated guy. Roofing! All right, laces out. Einhorn is Finkel. Finkel is Einhorn. Laces out. Unvaccinated guy, thank you. Coming to see you again in Seattle, I'm bringing Chanda from Beauty and the Boomer with me. Look at you, Natalie. Hey, by the way, we had 2 shows last night at Venice West. I want to say this. Venice West, the venue, the people at the venue were terrific. The people that were running it, thank you so much, Jennifer. We just got a new dog. Her name is Betsy. And Betsy has separation anxiety. That's fun. That's some fun stuff. So we ended up taking her to the venue. Everybody treated her nice. I couldn't believe it. And we have a new dog. There's the announcement there. We had a new dog. But the shows were terrific. It was great meeting some people there. And you know, we came from Palm Springs to Venice. Look at you crazy people. But the show was terrific. Kurt Mexican was fantastic on it. Jimmy killed it. It was really fun. Betsy, you did pretty good. You did pretty good.
Oh, it's Kurt Mexican. I got confused. I thought you were like Kurt and the Mexican were good.
Kurt Mexican. All right. I don't understand why the people who bash BlackRock, mainstream media, and identity politics also support Israel. That's the biggest oxymoron. Marcus, thank you, Marcus. Russ Nation has assembled. Haters are seething. Russ Revolution. Russ and Curtis, yes, and 2 roads next weekend. Wizards Death. Actually, we only have a few more tickets. I think we've gone public with those tickets for this Saturday night at 2 roads.
With a live panel show.
Live panel show.
Russ will be there.
Russ will be flying back to do the show. That's crazy. So we're going to be doing that show this Saturday. Yes, you are. Kurt Mexican out of town. Yeah. Hey, Keaton, you are a great journalist, but way too polite. You should Hayes politely told Marianne, "You're a phony. No offense." You're
disrespect. I don't mean any disrespect.
no disrespect. No disrespect, Marianne. I couldn't believe
These things don't grow.
Yeah. You know what? Marianne can't help herself by trying to divide the room and make it always, it's like when she was on RBN, I don't know if she told Nick that thank you. I don't use mansplaining me. And she tried to do that too here on the show with Jimmy, but she loves to do that. Oh, you're not New Hampshire. Oh, right, New Yorker. How did she expect that? Oh, well, thank you. I'm from Texas, and that's where this accent comes from. How did she get this? How did she get this way that she's speaking? And she's from Texas.
I've wondered that.
I don't get it, girl. Hey,
she's from a pretty wealthy family.
Oh, she. And that's the way well people speak. They just are so elevated and
Mid-Atlantic. It's called Mid-Atlantic.
It's called Mid-Atlantic from Texas.
Very Catherine. A lot of movie stars talk way in the
Back Jim.
So Joy and Reid had what's going on from the Moms for Liberty, and they want to ban some books that have explicit sexual stuff in them. And Joy and Reid is against that. She's for keeping the explicit sexual books in the library. So let's play a little bit of that fascinating interview, and we'll talk about it.
What I want to hear is banning books. Write the book and print the book.
First of all, Joy Reid's hair. Currently, she's going to leave to go to Donald Trump lookalike contest. I don't know what she'll do.
Hang on, I thought she was decolonized. Wasn't she decolonized? That's a pretty strange choice for somebody who's been decolonized.
I doing Tyler Creator, the War album. Very well. Beat out DJ Khaled.
So now,
one video. That's
again, I'm 58, but I'm glad that you're here to make those references. I don't know they're funny if I hit them. Russ, do you know what I'm talking about? Tyler, the Creator. You know what? On Saturday, I'm going to show a clip of her with the same hair, and then I'm going to put the picture up. That's all we need to do, really. Okay. And by the way, Dave Chappelle did that first. He did a character where he wore a wig just like that.
As what though?
I forget, but he wore a wig like that.
That is just so bizarre because her whole stock and trade is, white people won't vote for Nikki Haley except in South Carolina. That's why she can't win the Republican primary. Why would you die there? This is your whole brand. This is attacking white people. Why would you do that?
I thought she was inspired by Kyle Kalinske.
Oh, that's it.
That's what I thought.
It's a Bohemian growth. This is what Jimmy is trying to explain the blonde hair.
Okay, the blonde, whatever. Why is it a bowl haircut? That's the really.
That is also confusing.
Dylan Reese hair is what it is.
Okay.
Well, no, she's a big Three Stooges fan.
It's a Mo. It's a Mo.
It is the Mo.
No.
Publish the book, put the book in the public library, sell the book, right?
So the Moms of Liberty makes a case that I'm not trying to ban the book. Go ahead, print it, put it in a public library. Just don't put it in a school library.
A public school library. Children don't have unfettered access to the internet at school. I did a FOIA records request.
First of all, I think it's hilarious that they pretend that kids read books. When do American kids read books? Do they churn butter and play hoop and stick too? Are they talking about the libraries at Amish schools? What are they talking about? Anyway, okay, here we go.
And I wanted to see what kinds of internet sites are banned in schools. We're going to talk about banning, right? And the subject matter in the books that moms are concerned about are the same things that kids don't have access to on the internet. So it just feels very hypocritical, right? Why is no one out there protesting for, free the internet in schools?
Let me give you an example of some of the books that haven't been removed.
So she does not answer. She does not answer that.
No,
that's too logical.
No, that's right. So that's exactly right. Why don't they want to free the internet? They don't have any problem censoring the internet for certain sexual things. And by the way, what do you want a transsexual substitute teacher to read to the students during their pole dance? Dick and Jane? Actually, that might work. Okay.
Shell.
So here, so she makes, so again, yeah, so Joanne Reid, boy, that hair, I can't get past it. It's like she's at Saturday Night Live doing a character. It's like, okay, so here.
It's like when a cartoon character, like a mop falls on their head.
Yes.
And they get up.
Yes.
When you have like a beetle shag. Yeah.
Yes. So, so she won't answer that question. That was a great question that the Moms of Liberty actually had for Joanne Reid. Why don't you care about open access to the internet for these kids? Why isn't anybody out there doing that, right?
It just ignores it. Completely ignores it. Doesn't even answer that.
Water off a duck's ass. And now here's some of the
literally with that haircut.
Here we go.
Words that you find, the N-word, anything, words like you just used. You get out of context passages from the book, and then based on that, Moms for Liberty members are going to places like Broward County School Board meetings, reading out of context passages from these books, and then demanding that the school board remove them. So that is the way. Yeah. The question I'm asking is, what is the expertise that you have and other Moms for Liberty advocates have to decide that a book, an award-winning book like All Boys Aren't Blue, isn't appropriate for students to read? What is your expertise?
What is your expertise? An expertise on what? Straw man arguments? Is that what she needs to have? What the? Okay, let's play a little bit more.
Broward County again. Reading.
Again.
Broward County.
Broward County.
Right?
And reading. Unless there's a lot of pictures in these books.
Well, there are. That's part of the problem, Jimmy.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
Story of a young man who's anally raped by his adult family member. So you have incest, rape, pedophilia. Joy, you said you'd let me answer, so I'm going to answer for you. In what context is a strap-on dildo acceptable for public school? That's my question to you. Tell me what the context around the strap-on dildo or the rape of a minor child by a teacher.
Hold on a second.
No, we're talking about public school.
One moment.
Okay.
So now you've asked me a question.
Sure.
I'm going to answer it.
Okay.
Well, who's the main character? What's the name of the main character in All Boys Are Blue?
You're asking me right now.
You just gave me very specific information about this book, so you're presenting yourself as somebody expert.
It's the gentleman.
Hold on. Who's the main character in the book?
The main character is the author.
What's his name?
George, I believe is his first name.
Because you're giving me very specific information that is.
You're asking me to remember the name of an author.
So that actually, this is the most nonsensical thing I've ever heard in my life. Unless you can tell me the name of the main character in the book, I'm not going to answer. She doesn't answer her question, by the way. She doesn't answer it. She asks, well, in what context is a strap-on dildo okay? And in a book for children, and she says, well, do you know the name of the main character? And if you don't, then I guess you're not qualified to make that point, that strap-on dildos are not I don't know exactly.
You don't remember other kids' books like The Cat in the Hat, Ass to Ass, and I looked it up in Wikipedia. Oh,
this is. I think we've all been pleasantly surprised at the position that Joy Reid has taken on Palestine. But back to true to form, she is one of the biggest scumbags in the media, and this interview is really an illustration of why. She will not answer questions because the things that this woman is saying cannot be answered. You cannot answer them. So she just keeps redirecting and misdirecting to other ground, using lawyer tricks to get around directly answering her. Who gives a shit if she knows the name of the main character? What she just described, by the standards of any reasonable person, does not belong in a public school. She's not taking the extreme position. She's not saying ban the book. She's not even saying it shouldn't be in public libraries, just public schools. Who do the people who run these networks think the audience is of parents who are clamoring for their grade school children to be exposed to material like that? And you know what? If you are a parent who is comfortable with that, you are free to give your child that book. Why is it the right of the state to make that decision?
Well, the interview gets even worse. You're everything. I go ahead. What do you
the context where I can answer that question. I didn't answer. When is it the right context to talk about strap-ons? In required strap-on class, obviously. In dildo class, you can't graduate on 30 credits of dildo class.
Okay, let me back it up a little bit.
That's all. What's his name?
George, I believe is his first
Because
name.
you're giving me very specific information that is.
You're asking me to remember the name of an author.
You
the
just
name of the
remembered
author
very
doesn't
specific
joy.
Here's my
You're
question.
talking about
Here's my
You
question.
didn't answer my
no,
question.
No, I'm going to answer your
Great.
question.
I would love to hear that.
Absolutely. Well, I'm
No, she's
interviewing
not.
you. You're not interviewing me. So let's just make sure it's a conversation.
Okay, great.
So what I'm saying to you is that as you are not an expert in this book,
I don't have to
hold
be an
on.
expert
No,
to know
hold
that
on a
dildos
second.
aren't
One
appropriate for
moment.
public school. I mean, come on,
this
let's get
book
real.
is a full context story, as you said, of the author's experience. Why is it your right or a Moms for Liberty activist's right to say that a parent who wants their child to have access to this book, which gives a personal experience of this author, why doesn't a liberal parent, for instance, or a parent of an LGBTQ kid, why don't they have a right for their child to just have access to this book? Why is it your right to say they can't?
So again, we're talking about incest, rape, and pedophilia.
And each parent,
no.
Each parent has to decide what is appropriate for their child to read. So I want you to answer. I'm going to ask you one more time.
Right.
What is your right to tell a parent who wants their child, who might feel seen by this story? Why don't they have the right? Why don't
my child feels seen in this story about incest
All
rape?
the
Are you kidding?
buzzwords, all the buzzwords. That's why I say this is neurolinguistic programming. They have certain phrases and certain words that automatically invoke moral authority that you're not allowed to question. That's why you get all this bizarre jargon like fill in the blank bodies. Who talks like that?
You stop calling them bodies.
This impacts these bodies. Who talks like that? What are you talking? Would you get here from Mars? What the fuck are you talking about? These bodies. That's the purpose of it. The purpose of it is to create a set of linguistic tricks that do not allow disagreement or debate.
Moving through space. That's
Yeah,
one
what
too.
the fuck does that mean?
Walking,
moving through
right?
space.
That's it. It means walking.
What did you arrive here from the fourth dimension?
Yeah.
What the fuck are you talking about? Moving through space.
Yeah.
When the hell did My Truth? All these same people that yelled at who was it, Kellyanne Conway, or sort of alternate facts? These are the same people who were blathering My Truth. Oprah
Right.
Democrats. Oh, can I just say My Truth? It's like an old lady talking about soap operas, but you can't say. She calls them My Stories. Like you can't call it the thing that it is for some reason because you're like ashamed of it.
And if what you're talking about is a child who was raped by an adult and has written a memoir about their later experiences in the gay world with strap-ons and such, the proper place for that person to work that out is probably with a therapist, with counseling. It is probably not in the public school library.
Well, it gets even crazier. So now Joyanne Reid says that this is, so she's making the case, I think, that it's okay to have this strap-on thing in this book for children at a public school library because some kids might have also been raped, and then they feel seen because that's in this book that they see in their.
Stop spying on me. That's what I would say.
So watch this. It gets even worse. Watch.
they have the right as a parent to say, my child can have access to this book?
If a child feels seen by this story, that means that they have been the victim of a predator. That means that they have either been raped by a family member.
And that's exactly what she just is making it, again, the Moms of Liberty lady is making it, if they feel seen, that means that they've been a victim of a predator. Right. And watch what Joyanne Reid says back to this.
They've experienced
and your proof of that is what?
You just said that
What's
if a child feels seen.
She says, and your proof of that is what? No, you just said that.
Right.
Does Joy know the main character's name?
Joy,
I bet you don't.
Joy, you just said that they feel seen. By being feel seen, that means that that's their story. Their story is the same. That's what feel seen means. And now she's saying that she's contradicting herself here to try to win some moment in an argument.
Wait, wasn't she the one that she had all that anti-gay stuff?
Yeah,
said,
of course she
and
did.
Then said she got hacked on.
She
her
hates
tweets?
gay. And by the way, that she hates gay people.
Oh, she
and now
definitely
she's
did.
pretending. Now she has to do this to make up for all that ugly stuff she wrote about gay people. That's what this is. She's pretending to champion gay things and all things gay because she got caught saying despicable things about just regular gay people.
Oh, part of her punishment for that is she has to say this dumb shit and
while wearing that wig,
a dunce wig.
Yes. So
she's got a dunce wig.
This is so hard.
Wig is punishment.
Even for Joyanne Reid, this is hard to believe. What do you want to say?
Okay, so because I was like, what is this book? I want to look it up when I saw this.
Yeah.
So Wikipedia, Remember when you thought CRT was a made-up thing?
Yes, I did.
So Wikipedia, around the time when these things become controversial, okay, this is the plot. I was like, well, what's the story about? I look it up.
What's the name of the book? The Boy Blue or whatever?
All Boys Aren't Blue.
Okay.
And it's based on a response to a play called In Moonlight, Black Boys Look Blue. I mean,
that's the play that the
Moonlight,
movie was based on.
Right. So this is an answer to that title. Here's plot. Ready? The book discusses consent, agency, and sexual abuse alongside various other topics. It also describes 2 sexual encounters and statutory rape. Doesn't mention the main character, though. There's no way to cliff notes that if you want to know. So that's on purpose. They're making that real vague because this is some kind of hot topic, getting this book into school.
Yeah, that's a lot. Kids, if you got to do a book report, stick with The Old Man and the Sea. That's nice and simple, easy, one character, not much going on. Much easy Ray.
Rick Overton said she's got Ben Stiller's simple Jack hair.
That's what that is. So let me just get back to just to show you how crazy Joyanne Reid conducts this interview. I want to back it up just a little bit.
Joy doesn't even know what she's saying.
Yes. Okay, hang on.
By this story, why don't they have the right? Why don't they have the right?
Hang on. I got to back it up a little further.
I want you to answer. I'm going to ask you one more time. Right. What is your right to tell a parent who wants their child, who might feel seen by this story? Why don't they have the right? Why don't they have the right as a parent to say, my child can have access to this book?
If a child feels seen by this story, that means that they have been the victim of a predator. That means that they have either been raped by a family member, they've experienced
and your proof of that is what?
You just said that if a child feels seen by this story.
You're now making assumptions.
No, but if a child has been raped, we should do a lot better than put a book on the library
Now you're literally creating a story behind a child that you don't know. Let me show you a form. This is a form.
Joyanne Reid just said that this is for kids who feel seen, meaning that their story is the same as the story in this book where they've been raped by a predator. And then she goes, oh, you're making that up. You have nothing to base that on. That's what Joyanne Reid Joyanne Reid just did that. She just made it up that there's some kid out there who shares this story, and she's just saying, well, if she does share the story, that means they've been raped by a predator. And Joyanne Reid goes, well, you're making that up. What? That I can't that is so. Go ahead.
Well, and she's trying to debate on grounds that the minority woman, she's debating on those grounds. She is saying, if you want your child to read that, you can, right? It can be at the public school library. You can give your, not at the public library, just not at the public school library. And this is why I know MSNBC lives with kids. I worry for the kids because you talk to them and they're so fucking brainwashed and so easily programmed. They'll defend these ideas. I personally worry for the kids of parents like that because they are mindless. They're just mindless. Where is the limit? Because if anyone had told you before they hypnotized you into believing this, you know what? For Christmas, I'm giving your kid this book is gay. They would have punched you right in the mouth. How easily were so many of these people who usually have these professional managerial class jobs, they're well educated, be led into thinking that this is some kind of a cause to make sure that children have absolute access to books about anal rape.
Because they don't care about their kids.
How did that happen?
They're narcissists. It's called Munchausen, all that kind of shit. That's liberal friend parents.
Well, that you're getting into the transgender thing, which I think that's an interesting take on a lot of it.
Let's listen to the rest of this. Whatever I have in this clip, let's listen.
That can be obtained in Broward County, Florida. I'm going to show it to the audience, and then I'm going to show it to you. This is called the opt. Yeah, please, I'm going to hand it to you. It's called the opt-out form.
Okay.
An opt-out form would allow any parent, because you said you are in favor of parental rights.
I am.
It would allow any parent to opt out of their child being able to take books out of the library without their parents' permission.
So Joyanne Reid thinks she has a slam dunk here. She presents this to the Moms of Liberty saying, here's an opt-out form. Why can't we just say, these are, if you don't want your kid to read that book that's in the public school library, then you can sign an opt-out form. And what is Moms of Liberty response to this?
So that Moms for Liberty, why not advocate that every school in America have an opt-out form so that a parent who doesn't want their child to access a book like All Boys Aren't Blue, that they can make that choice? Because then each parent, including a liberal parent, a black parent, a parent who wants their child to read a book about African-American history, then they get their
want children to read books.
Why not just opt out for yourself rather than tell other parents what they can and cannot?
First of all, I think what you're talking about here is a wonderful step in the right direction.
Oh, didn't see that coming. She agreed with you. That's a great step in the right direction. Give parents the opportunity to opt out of stuff like this. I don't think Joy saw that coming.
Well, because this woman is reasonable. She's not what Joy Reid wanted. She wants a foaming at the mouth Marjorie Taylor Greene style social conservative, which she is clearly not. Most of the people I talk to who are critical of gender theory, who are critical of drag brunch, are liberals. They're usually Democrats, honestly, who just have refused to take the Kool-Aid.
And let me just play this, show you this. In Burbank, California, which is right down the street from me, which is a blue city, meaning Democrat, this is the books they've banned at that school. Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird, Mark Twain's The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, John Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men, Theodore Taylor's The K, Mildred D. Taylor's Newbery medal-winning young adult classic Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. And by the way, the challenges came from 4 parents, 3 of them black, for the alleged potential harm to the public school district's roughly 400 black students. And then all but Huckleberry Finn has been required reading in the Burbank Unified School District. All but Huckleberry Finn have been. So all of these have been required reading except for Huckleberry Finn. And it was black parents who, so this is not your Moms of Liberty wanting this stuff banned. These are Democrats, voting Democrat. These are African-American Democrats asking their school public library to ban these books.
You don't remember that from years ago?
Well,
no.
The big Huckleberry Finn, we got to get Huckleberry Finn out of the school because that's the N-word, and it can be damaging to kids.
Yeah, they never talk about it from the other side. You have Irreversible Damage, which is a book examining rapid onset gender dysphoria, where you have these teenage girls who have never shown any sign of gender dysphoria all of a sudden watch a TikTok video and want puberty blockers. There has been a big move to try to ban that book. Target actually removed it at one point under pressure. The staff at the publishing house for Jordan Peterson did a big protest against their own publisher with the obligatory weeping and gnashing of teeth at a meeting, trying to get them not to publish Jordan Peterson's last book. So you just don't hear about it from that end. But it certainly, book banning comes from that end. They just don't see it as book banning when they do it.
Oh, here's from the Los Angeles Times. They say the charge against those books is racism, and it has been invoked in the past. But in contrast to earlier fights across the country, this one is heavily inflected by an atmosphere of urgent reckoning, as both opponents and defenders of those novels claim the mantle of anti-racism, because these books show they're exposing racism. These are lessons you're supposed to learn. They aren't pro-racism. They're
anti-racists. Don't like the To Kill a Mockingbird, one I had to read in school, which was a good book. Back when all the there should be no due process for sex crimes, I remember going, nobody read To Kill a Mockingbird where black man gets blamed and didn't do anything?
Right.
And no, we better stop reading that. All the Of Mice and Men, the K I read. All these things that they're not putting forth that stupid like crit theory version of every single topic. So things to be against racism, that's not anti-racism. Anti-racism is, I guess, racism really. So of course you want to get rid of those. They don't want anything fostering understanding between races. They want things blocked off. The only thing that can be mixed up is gender. Racial segregation, Thanksgiving slop of gender.
And
That's the policy.
And by the way, Of Mice and Men, what's the deal with Of Mice and Men? Is that because there's violence against a mentally challenged guy who kills
That
animals?
would be my guess.
Who kills
That would be my
animals and
guess.
people by accident? I don't see what the
Right.
problem is. There, our country's being led by one of those guys.
Yeah.
For like the second or third time, I think.
Well, what's funny is the libs love To Kill a Mockingbird because of the way that it treats poor whites. They
Yeah.
love that. That's an anti-MAGA story.
Yeah, it makes exactly. It makes the poor whites seem like the deplorables, right? And that's why they didn't like when she wrote the follow up to that book, and it turned out that he was actually in the Klan. Did you know that?
Right.
Yeah, that's why that book didn't get any traction.
Wait, which one's in the Klan? Not Boo Radley, the slow guy.
No, the
no, the lawyer.
The lawyer.
Atticus Finch.
Atticus Finch.
What a weird
What
plot
a-
turn.
What a weird plot
That's a
twist,
twist.
right? Yeah.
No, that's why Aaron Sorkin adapted it for Broadway. The libs love that book.
And now
Yeah, those Aaron Sorkin liberals, that's the ones that they're talking about that like they're cool with their kids
Yes.
having butt plug class or whatever. Those are
the ones who found West Wing inspiring,
Yeah,
and not
yeah.
nausea-inducing.
they're the biggest dipshits in the world, and none of
Yes.
them. It's like watching people realize that equity and equality don't mean the same thing. And I mean, probably going back 12 years, I can recall trying to explain this to these people, and now they're old, and they're just like, oh, whatever the kids say is good. I mean, why don't you go to church if you're going to be this brain dead and just let the priest do whatever he wants? Go to church.
Okay. All right, let's go to a break and we'll be right back. Okay, I've got a brief message for everybody. First of all, I'll see you this Saturday, January 27th. We're doing our live panel show. Russ from New Dissidence will be on that show. Steph will be on that show. We'll see you this Saturday. It's at Two Roads Theater. Get your tickets now. It's only a 60-seat theater, or maybe only 50 because we have to put cameras in there. So if you've been watching any of the footage from our last one, which we did on December 30th, you know how much fun that show is. So there's a few tickets left. Go to jimmydore.com, get your ticket for this Saturday, January 27th, the live Jimmy Dore panel show. And so maybe, I don't know, maybe there's 12 tickets left, something like that. 10? Maybe there's 10 tickets left. Okay. All right. So there's like 10 tickets left. So that's this Saturday. It's the live panel show. That's the show everybody loves. And I'm not going to kid you. It hurts my feelings when people say, oh, I went to see a live Jimmy stand-up show. I thought it was going to be his panel show. I was disappointed. Hey, fuck off. My stand-up is powerful. Okay. And there's way more. Anyway, we'll see you this Saturday, January 27th at Two Roads Theater in Studio City. 50 seats, that's all. So there's a 60-seat theater, but we're only going to make 50 available because we got to put cameras in there. Go to jimmydore.com, get your link for tickets. And right now, we're going to go over to Rumble. So we're going to jump over to Rumble. It's the future. It's the future. I'm telling you, it's the future. Dr. Pierre Corey will be coming up. He's got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about the CDC never gave the warning for myocarditis they were supposed to give.
Whoopsie.
There's a thing called shedding. Do you know what shedding is?
Yeah.
If you want to know, it's not good. It says so even if you don't get a vaccine, you're getting a vaccine.
Yeah, that's why we found out my unvaccinated ex-girlfriends, it turns out, were vaccinated.
Yeah, it turns out
way.
the hard way. So we're going to be talking about that and excess deaths and a lot of things we're going to be talking about over on Rumble. So go to Rumble right now. There's the Jimmy Dore Show streaming live there. And we're going to cut off the YouTube feed, and everybody go over to Rumble for the rest of the show. We're going to do about another 90 minutes or so over on Rumble. Okay, let's do it. Go to break. Hey, guess what? Let me guess. Your medicine cabinet is filled with stuff that doesn't work. You aren't sleeping, you still hurt, and you're stressed out. Well, that's how it was for me. That actually is how it was for me, especially since I quit weed. I couldn't sleep, but guess what? CBD Distillery. I started using the CBD oil. It is a real change. I actually have been sleeping a little more. And Misha, you also say that helps you sleep and it helps you be calmer. The CBD distilleries' targeted formulations are made from high-quality, clean ingredients. No fluff, no fillers. Just pure, effective CBD solutions designed to help support your health. Because in 2 non-clinical surveys, 81% of customers experienced more calm, just like Misha. 80% said CBD helped with pain after physical activity. And I don't do physical activity, so I can't say, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I go up the stairs. 80% and 90% said they slept better with CBD. If you struggle with a health concern, and if you haven't found relief, make the change like I did to CBD Distillery. And guys, over 2 million customers and a solid 100%. How much? 100% money back guarantee. CB Distillery is the source to trust. I got you a 20% discount. That's just to get you started. Visit cbdistillery.com and use code Jimmy for 20% off. That's cbdistillery.com and the code is Jimmy. cbdistillery.com.
Hey, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there for more AM Joy and the rest of MSNBC. And click on any of the videos right here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. And you can get more videos from MSNBC for free every day with our newsletter. Just visit